We're having fun and we're going live. What? I think, are we setting up? Are we live? Joanne's going, you're live! Woohoo! Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meet the Speakers from the Global Piano Teachers Summit. I'm your host, Glory St. Germain, and I am so honored to have all the lovely speakers joining us today. So just as we get started, because today is the day when you can unlock your VIP pass, the link is in the chat notes just below the video. So today you're going to get to meet some of the speakers from around the world. We are actually 55 piano teachers from around the globe that have shared their expertise in this amazing event, and I'm so grateful. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves, as well as tell you, the first question is, what have you learned this year in your own professional development? Because as educators, we always continue to learn. I've learned a million new things this year. So I'm going to start off around the room. So the question is, what have you learned in your own professional development this year as a piano teacher? So I will start off with Joanne. If you could introduce yourself, where you're from, and share what you've learned this year.
Hello, my name's Joanne Barker. I'm from Southwestern Ontario, about 2 hours from Toronto and 2 hours from Detroit, for those who need that milestone. And if we had about 7 days, I think I could tell you everything I've learned in this past year. But the one biggest thing I've learned is that I'm not done learning.
Absolutely. We keep going. Thanks, Joanne. Swan?
My name is Swan Kiesebrink, and I'm from northern British Columbia in Canada, from a very small town. What I've learned this year is how to use technology. Up where I am, our internet is very slow. We're very rural. And I realized that all the fancy gadgets in the world do not fix the internet. So I have had to learn how to improvise on that sort of thing, and even had a masterclass with Michelle Lynn from the Netherlands. We did that in November. And that was really, really good. I really enjoyed watching her teach my students. I really enjoyed figuring stuff out when things glitched out and kicked me off and all the rest of that sort of thing. So it's been good.
It's been good. And it's so interesting because we have definitely learned a lot of things. Pam, if you could introduce yourself, where you're from, and what has been your greatest takeaway this year that you have learned as a piano teacher.
Okay, I'm Pam Turner, and I live in the very tiny town of Barnell, Georgia. It's about 2 hours north of Atlanta, 20 miles maybe south of Chattanooga, Tennessee. The biggest thing I've learned has been kind of a result of the online lessons, I guess. And I've seen other teachers mention this very often, that my ear actually developed better. And so in my second location, I have a studio piano, and I decided to, so that we could distance when we resumed in person, I added a keyboard in that room because it's spacious and we can do that. And we have all decided we like it that way. We like the distance between the two. We like the duets on two different instruments. I see and hear so much more when I'm not just right at the piano next to the student. So that's been a biggie for me.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? What we discover, what we thought was an inconvenience, and now we actually love it. It's so interesting. Frances, could you please introduce yourself and where you're from, and what's one of your big takeaways from this year?
Hi, I'm Frances Velotis, and I live in Ullswater, which is in Muskoka, Canada. It's about 3 hours north of Toronto and 5 hours west of Ottawa. What I have learned this year, much like Swan said, is how to use technology, and I've used it both in my lessons, and we just had the Music for Young Children Composition Festival, and the use of technology in that was amazing, and it worked so well. So I've learned how to use some of it. I'm not really skilled at technology, but I have learned how to use some of it, and my confidence is growing.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Francis. Sir Gareth, can you introduce yourself and where you're from and your greatest takeaway this year?
Hello. The video disappeared just at the golden moment and now it's reappeared. Oh, terrific, marvelous. I'm Gareth Green from the UK. I live in the north of the UK. It's actually well past my bedtime now, but I'm smiling and I'm wide awake.
Good.
But that's me. What's the thing that I've learned this year? Well, I'll certainly echo what's being said about learning to use the tech better. And this whole thing as well about, more teaching online, being able to be at the keyboard is great because you can just have this interaction so much more easily. But one thing away from the tech that I've learned more about this year, and that has been teaching blind students and how interesting that is. And what they have to teach me and to teach the rest of us about things like memory, obviously, and spatial awareness. I'm teaching this blind girl at the moment who has got the best spatial awareness at the keyboard that I have ever encountered in my life. And isn't it interesting how we think that actually when you're working with someone that's blind, it's going to be a disadvantage. There are disadvantages, but actually huge advantages. And the rest of us are searching for notes, wondering where that leap is. And she has no trouble with it at all. And her ear is so tuned to the detail of what she's doing that for me, that's been a big takeaway. How do I take that experience into the rest of my teaching practice?
Yeah, that is so interesting. I'd love to learn more about that too, Sir Gareth. I affectionately call him Sir Gareth.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm touched.
Miss Louise, could you please introduce yourself and where you're from and your greatest takeaway this year in your professional development? Louise, you'll just need to unmute yourself, Louise.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten that part down. My name is Louise Earhart, and I'm from the LA area, Long Beach, California. And my greatest takeaway are several parts that are related. One is that I need to teach sight reading more, much more. And I don't even like to call it sight reading, but as the previous speaker said, the blind have the spatial relationship. They have a relationship to the keyboard that I don't think I have, and probably sighted people don't have. They have the spatial relationship that's just terrific. Van Cliburn winner won. He was blind and he played all the Chopin etudes, of course. So they have this innate sense. But for me, it's that I think my students need to be together as much as possible. They seem to be separated by our present situation. So I try to get them together every week on Zoom and play for each other. And I think the other thing is no matter how far we think we're apart, now we're only one click away from each other. And that has been a great help to me. I love seeing all these faces, right? And when I go to a meeting, I don't see faces. I see backs of heads and ears. And
right.
Now I see all your faces and I can go like that and I see all your names. It's just fantastic. I'm not totally great with technology, but I started one day. I had a meeting in the morning last March, and at 3:00 I was teaching on Zoom. I had no idea how to do it. And of course, Zoom was trying hard to help us all. So it's been wonderful. And then the other part is that I still love the piano. I still love playing the piano. And I can't get enough of either of those. So that's my take on it.
Aw, thank you, Louise. Thank you. Miss Shauna, could you please introduce yourself and where you're from and what's been your biggest professional development this year?
I'm Shauna Hunter. I'm from Calgary in Canada. It's actually in the western half of Canada. This year, technology obviously has been a huge learning curve for me. I also took the Ultimate Music Theory Teacher's Certification course, which just gave me a huge boost in confidence for my theory teaching abilities. And that's a little plug for you, Glory. And I've also just recently been delving into the whole body learning for music. And that's really piqued my interest. So that's what I'm into right now.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? Like, I just love learning new things. It's just absolutely so much fun. Thank you, Shauna. Anna, can you introduce yourself, please, and where you're from and what has been your greatest professional development this year?
Well, I live in Carlsbad. It's near San Diego, around 40 miles. I relocated recently from Orange County. Well, among so many things that other speakers already mentioned, I think we're all experiencing same things. Two things I wanted to mention. One is the power of positive attitude. It reinforced, I think, in my mind how important it is to be patient and be positive with students, because during these trying times, those of us who stayed calm and positive, I think we succeeded. We were able to stay calm, transition online, radiate positivity to our students, and we retained students, and we didn't lose. At least a lot. So that is one thing. Another thing, more practical, more pianistic, let's say. I realized how important, how much I was missing out not having two instruments next to each other, and so how much I can benefit from this next to each other, keyboard to keyboard aspect. When you demonstrate up close, everything, the gesture, everything, you can teach more effectively so many things. And so what I did, I actually got a new digital piano and I brought next to mine. So that was the effect of realizing how important it is. So now I have physically too.
Oh, that's so good. And we just keep learning and we keep learning. And I think it's really fun to learn new things. I loved it. I've learned so much in this summit from all of you, and thank you. George, can you introduce yourself and what have you been up to?
Well, thank you very much. I'm George Litterst. I live in a little town of Rehoboth, Massachusetts, about an hour south of Boston. And my experience has been a little different from some of those that have been shared thus far during this pandemic, for the simple reason that I got involved with video conferencing actually back in the late 1990s and gave my first national conference presentation on long distance teaching 20 years ago. So the concepts here were not strange to me. And in the early 2000s, I had gotten involved in creating technology, which today is a product called Internet MIDI that actually connects two MIDI keyboards together over the internet. So you play a note on your piano and you're literally playing your student's piano and vice versa. And you've got on-screen graphics that represent what's happening as you play and so forth. So I'd been doing intermittent long distance teaching during this period, but of course during the last year it's been on a sustained basis. So it's given me an opportunity to hone my skills. But because I've been in the software business, it's also brought me in contact with a lot of teachers around the world. And that's been my big takeaway, is to observe their experiences and to see how many teachers have really felt all along, well, I just am not into technology. I can't do technology. And then as a result of being forced into it, yeah, actually I can. Yeah. And I am a darn creative person and I can make this work. And that's the story I've been seeing play out over and over again. And the other part that's been very interesting to me is to see, especially with the postings people do of their studios on Facebook, how many teachers today actually have a digital piano in their studio. And oftentimes it's been acquired as a second instrument because they prefer to teach on their nice big grand for logical reasons. But that MIDI instrument can do so much more than just be a second piano to a company. It connects to the computer and to interactive apps and so forth. So I'm rather excited by the fact that I think as a profession, we've ratcheted up our skills and we're ready as a profession to move forward into some very innovative teaching ways, in the coming years.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure it's been interesting. And just what you said, George, is that everyone sort of thought, well, no, it's not my thing. I'm not going to bother. And then when you're forced into it, it's like, well, I guess I have to do it. And then after a while, it's, I kind of like doing it. I like teaching online and I like all these new technology things. And it's been such an incredible experience and honestly an opportunity for us to grow as music educators, but also to move forward, I think, into the 21st century with our students. And Jennifer, can you introduce yourself, please, and where you're from, and what's been your professional development this year?
I'm Jennifer Fox, and I am from the States in Goodyear, Arizona. And I think my biggest takeaway this year is the importance of being willing to adapt. And then the other thing is where there's a problem, there's always a solution. So it's just a matter of going out and finding it.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. Natalia, please introduce yourself. Where are you from?
Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia Rozhanovskaya. I'm originally from Moscow, Russia, and now I live and work in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This year, I must say, I was on the steepest learning curve among my entire career. And the first thing I've learned is that we, the music teachers, and our students are stronger than we think. And I also learned how resilient young children are, because presumably it's supposed to be the hardest on them. They have to move around, they have to interact, they have to have live experiences. And those poor little things are stuck in front of the screen most of the time. Yeah. But I also learned that music is even more vital than we thought for our students and our families. And times again, we heard the praise from the parents, and they were saying, this is one of their most important things which kept the kids going and families as well. So it's really humbling to know that we're doing such an important thing to help people keep their mental health and go through all of this, and keep their heads above the water. I also became best friend with my computer, and which wasn't the case before the pandemic. And I remember my great mentor, Lisa Lodge, jokingly was saying that her husband would tell her that she's married to her computer. So I feel that I'm becoming married to my computer as well. But we're definitely learning so much, in the process. And I also learned that as far as professional education, sky is the limit. And we definitely can strive under pressure. So this situation forced us to discover what's happening outside of our small box, right? Yeah. So thanks to this situation, we're discovering connections throughout the world and seeing what people do around the world. It's really becoming us, the world becoming the small village, right? That's it's being said before. And for us, it's an opportunity to learn more in the business world and learn professionally, learn from each other, stay connected and support each other so we all can, become better than we were before this situation. So much to learn for sure.
Yes, thank you so much. You really made me smile because my husband always thinks I'm married to my computer as well. So we might be starting a whole new trend, and some people, their pets are their best friend. But for me, I take care of my computer. I polish it. I love it, and it's right because it's where we teach. It's where we connect with our friends. It's where we are for professional development. So you make me smile. Christopher, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about what has been your professional development?
So I'm a piano teacher and a composer. I write piano music for, you might know, for FJH. I also publish some pieces on my own website. And as far as teaching is concerned, the biggest thing that I learned this year was that marketing matters. Mm-hmm. and I also, on the similar train of thought, learned that there are a million different ways to market yourself and your business that are not necessarily spammy. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and just brainstorm. Let that be the only thing that you think about.
Yep, absolutely. And that's Christopher Oil. So thank you, Christopher. Let's see who is next. Ilan? She's coming in.
I'm coming in.
Yay!
There you go. I'm Michelle Island, and it's like tropical island, and nobody pronounces it right. It's okay.
Oh, tropical island. I love that.
There you go. You'll never forget again.
Never, Michelle.
I'm in Hays, Kansas, in the United States. I'm right smack dab in the middle of the continent, so just right In the middle.
In the middle.
I have an in-home studio that even through COVID has been bursting at the seams. So that's because of technology and just the willingness to learn something new. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've taken away is you're never too old to learn, and fear doesn't exist. And the kids don't care. The kids just want the connection. They didn't care if it was glitchy or it didn't duet right or the cat walked across the screen. It didn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And the other thing I learned was flexibility. You know, we go into our lessons with a lesson plan and a game plan and what we would like to have be the goal. But by learning to let my students drive that more and me less, especially through the unseen waters that you knew were coming in, has made a big difference in my studio and in my learning, because they've taught me a lot. I got to ask a lot of questions. And when the technology didn't work the way I thought it should for the lesson, then we got to bring music in anyway. Well, how does it make you feel? What does it sound like? Where do you go with that? What color do you feel if you hear that? All those things I didn't teach before because I was focused on the lesson. And it's just driven that way because of circumstances. And I probably learned more than my students, but I think it's made me a better teacher.
Yeah. Absolutely. You really make me smile when you mentioned about the cat walking in the back. So as I was teaching the other day, Michelle, so one of the boys are like this. Sorry, Paul and Christopher and Sir Garrett and who else is in here, and George, but boys are like this. So one little boy, I'm teaching him and he has his lesson and he thinks he's a comedian. And so he gets up really close to the camera and then he does one of those where he's fake, but the cat walks by. And I said, you're not frozen. Like the cat's walking right behind you. I know you're not frozen. You're just pretending. Anyway, he goes, oh, rats, my stupid cat. But, you have to let go and just have fun and just know that you're so loved as a teacher. And we have these relationships sometimes for years and years and years with our students. And I'm so grateful that we are still able to connect and still be teaching online, because it is really a treasure. So thanks, Michelle. Miss Julie, can you introduce yourself and where you're from and what was your big takeaway this year?
Hello, I am Julie Berry and I am from St. Louis, Missouri in the United States. My biggest takeaway this year is mastering the art of communication, because we've had to learn how to communicate in a brand new way. And this has taught me a lot. Obviously, I've learned a lot about technology and all of that. But having said that, it's also teaching my students how to communicate in a different way that they haven't had to. And I watched my whole entire studio go from slightly struggling with their communication skills to this a year later to, wow, everyone is flourishing and growing as musicians and their parents are so amazed. Wow, it's helped them in school. I mean, this is just, it's music and it's therapy. And also one thing I've taken away from this year of my personal development is community in teachers and being a part of the Elite Teacher Education Program and the UMTC certification course, just to refresh and re-educate myself, to challenge my students. Community is everything, and feeding off each other and these wonderful ideas. This has just been amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been such a joy to have all of the teachers inside the Ultimate Music Theory certification course, the Elite Educator program. And you're so right. It's about the community, and even this community, we've met several times. We had our mastermind group, we did our summit interviews, and just getting to know each other. And this is how friendships are built for many, many years. And I know for myself, my good friends Paul and Gillian are going to come up, and I'm going to go to you first, Gillian, and then Paul. And we've really met because of the online world, and there they are in Australia, and I'm like, we would never have met if it wouldn't have been for this community. So Gillian, I'm going to let you go first, and then over to Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fabulous, and I think the online is we thought it was the whole shutdown and us going on to having to teach via internet and everything, and while it was a huge struggle to start with for everybody to get up to speed. It's just delivered so many gifts, I think.
Can you introduce yourself though, Gillian, and just tell us a little bit about you and where you're from?
So I'm Gillian Erskine. I'm from Australia, Brisbane, Australia, which is about halfway down the east coast. And we're near the Gold Coast or Noosa, if anybody knows those places, or we're a few hours drive from Byron Bay, which has a lot of movie stars visit it. So, yep, we're a kind of subtropical area of Australia. And I'm the CEO of 4-Day School of Music and Piano Teaching Success. Paul and I are business partners and have been so for 20 plus years. Because Glory has this thing, you can't say more than 20.
That's right.
It's 20 plus. 20 plus years. And so we've got 4-day schools in UK, all around Australia and New Zealand. And one of the things that I've noticed through this time, like at the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, we've got to help everybody get online. Because Paul and I had been doing a lot of things online for a long time. Because we're spread across so many continents, we've been using Zoom with our school owners for such a long time. So they were quite used to that system, which was a plus. But we really had to put so much effort into trying to help, because some of them have like 800, 900 students, 500 students, 300 students, try to get them just to support them. And we were just meeting like every few days, actually. We were meeting for like 3 or 4 hours at a time with everyone sharing their what they were doing with everything. So that was really great. Yeah. And then Paul said to me, we've got to help. We had all our guys on within about a few weeks. Everyone was sorted. And we said, gosh, this piano teaching business, I was thinking last night, it's been such an acoustic. Mm-hmm. And perhaps there's been no reason to perhaps necessarily embrace technology because we have an acoustic instrument, which many of us prefer as a main teaching instrument. Yeah. We for theory, pencil is actually a really good thing with paper. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can do digital stuff, but the whole act of writing, we all know, is so good for our brains. So we really haven't had to kind of move into that digital age too much, but everyone's gone, boom, straight into it and take it on board, and which has been fantastic. And I think one of the, there's so many gifts, as I was saying before, but what I've noticed with all of our schools globally is that music lessons have become, I really felt before this, music lessons almost being lost in the noise of the after school activity and parents working and not being able to bring them as much easily and what have you. And we were having to really compete for that after school dollar. Mm-hmm. And I really feel that we've been, with this current event, we've come back to family values. I think parents are spending more time with their children. And I do think that music lessons are the ones that have stayed, the tennis lessons and all the sport, because Australia's a huge sport place. Everyone has to play sport. That's like the must-have to do. It's all went a little bit by the wayside, and because they've been practicing a bit more, they've been progressing a bit more, and because they've been progressing a bit more, they kind of like it a bit more. And yes, I think it'll be interesting to see where to from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it has been quite a journey, and you're right. Originally we were competing with all of those activities, and now parents are so happy that we can have piano lessons. So it's been a huge plus. Absolutely. Paul, can you introduce yourself and a little bit of what's been your professional development this year? Oh, you need to unmute yourself, Paul.
Sure, Glory. Sorry about that. My name's Paul Myatt, and I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I have the joy and pleasure of working with Gillian all the time. And we have Piano Teaching Success and 4-Day School of Music. And I suppose one of the things that I do is I work with a lot of teachers all around the world in how to teach using whole body learning. And so I would travel. I used to be a platinum frequent flyer, not so much these days. And so I've had to learn how to do this online. And I've just been working in Asia, teaching whole body learning courses. And it's I've had more teachers participate, and I've had more successes because we're able to actually implement strategies immediately rather than being in a classroom where you just do peer teaching. And so people have actually been able to go out and try it with their students and then come back and do little videos and share information with teachers. And it's just been so wonderful. So I suppose that's been my greatest learning, but also that how the importance of mindset, because if you think it's going to be a negative situation, it's going to be a negative situation. I think we have all embraced this situation and found the positive. So I think it's been a really great opportunity for us as an industry to really grow and move forward. And people are really finding it's important to learn new things, and it's just great.
Yeah.
And we want to give a shout out to Shauna, because Shauna's with us in whole body in the studio in the whole body learning. And it's been so good. We've got so many experienced teachers who have gone, you know what, I want to learn some more. And it's been so great. I thought we might get a lot of very beginner teachers, but no, we're getting teachers like Shauna with amazing skills and abilities that have got a lot of experience. So,
and you know, as I'm looking around the room, Gillian, it's interesting you said that, because Shauna is now connected to Gillian and Paul, and then I see Natalia, who is a music for young children teacher, who's connected to Francis, and then I see, you know, Yin, who's connected. So as I look around the room, I'm like, this is just so interesting. So thank you. I'm going to go over to Yin now. Could you please introduce yourself, where you're from, and what have you learned this year?
My name is Ying Huang, and I'm from Los Angeles, Alhambra, which is very close to Pasadena. One couple of things I learned a lot. I'm sure we all learn the technology thing, and it's a good connection with the students, because we cannot keep complaining. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, the students say, oh, I cannot hear you. Oh, no, you're frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Good connection with them. They say, we start a lesson with how you doing with your online classes, and then you kind of build that positive relationship. And so, as I mentioned before, to glory, and we get to turn around for the not positive, like a crisis, into the positive. So for instance, we have a sorry, I don't know what happened. It's a Good Friday. I think we have service. Now, one thing about the crisis, which we did, I see my friend here, Louise, Dr. Hurt, and Anna. Yeah, we did fundraise COVID-19 for the LA County. So that's through the mayor. But one thing we also did is be all more organized. And I love the app. I don't know how many teachers use that, Cadenza. I'm not a super organized person, but I have that Cadenza. I put everything I want from that app, theory and sight reading, everything. So it actually taught me to be more organized and more articulate, especially if I had to coach the chamber music. Then I had to say, this is exactly the section exposition. Now we had to work on this part. So I think it taught me in great deal, be more articulate and more positive and more organized.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Yin Yin. Thank you, Miss Linda. Can you please introduce yourself and where you're from, and what has been your greatest professional development this year?
Hi, Glory. My name is Linda Gould, and I love your questions to get us all thinking. So much has happened this year. Part of COVID, I think, is my fault, because I needed the world to slow down so I could do this. So I'm sorry. But online videos. I have learned how to make online videos. I wrote this course 20 years ago. It's a method for adults to get on stream with chording and improvising. And just teaching one-on-one was too much, because it became very popular. I taught it in groups. I got the lovely job of teaching on cruise ships, 16 keyboards on a cruise ship.
Wow.
And I did that for 10 years. And so I would get students all over the world going back home, and I'd say, just find a teacher that can teach chords and improv, and they couldn't. And so I wound up, I've been teaching online for years because they couldn't. So anyway, online videos are going to be my freedom. I have to get, like Christopher, into marketing. But I haven't said, I'm from Victoria, BC, Canada. Just forgot to say that. Just north of Seattle, grew up in Calgary, Shauna. So I love your city. But anyway, back to online videos. I want to be able to, you know, when you teach someone for 45 minutes and then they go home for a week. And with online videos, I've had the most amazing success with adults. They're going, I can watch you do that section 12 times, and nobody's saying, you know, you're stupid for not getting it the second time. They can do it as well. So I think it's great. And I'm hoping to branch out into teaching teachers to be really comfortable. I know a lot of teachers are coming on board with this improvising and chording, but more for a child's point of view, and adults are different than children. And I love watching Q&A, Paul and Gillian. I just think you guys are amazing. And so I just bringing the world together and learning how to make online videos has been my takeaway.
Well, you know what, and we've all learned so much this year, and of course I've you know, made a personal connection with all of you, and it's been such a great experience. And I just want to go back to the part about you're on a cruise ship teaching. Like, I think I need to get out of the basement and go teach on a cruise ship, because
amazing.
That sounds like fun. Who wants to go learn piano on a cruise ship? Say I.
Oh no, you want to teach piano on a cruise ship, because
we're all coming.
2 hours, but you get to see everybody like 4 or 5 times a week. They grow so much. I wound up March the 5th, I wound up in Sydney, Australia. It's been my second time in being Australia. I had a Facebook friend in, that's a whole other piano story, but in Melbourne that I was going to stay with. So we went down. I had tea with Tim Topham in Melbourne. Then I went back to Sydney and I stayed at Erica Booker's. She was another Facebook friend. I stayed at her place for 3 days, gave a recital. I mean, this world is just international. But yes, the cruise ship, teaching on cruise ships, I highly recommend it.
All right. Well, I think we're going to join you there. That's next time you're teaching, let me know, and I'm signing up for lessons. It'll be so much fun. So let's go to Marnia. How are you doing? Can you introduce yourself, Marina, and where you're from?
Hi, I'm Marina Belkin, and I'm from North Jersey, USA. It's basically practically 15 minutes away from glorious New York City, 30 minutes away driving from Carnegie Hall, and 35 minutes away driving from Metropolitan Opera. So this is my landmark and destinations where I used to go, where my students perform not in Metropolitan Opera, but in Carnegie Hall, yes. We have a break right now for a year. So what did I learn this year? This year I'm fully teaching online, still online. And my take from that, I learned how to look into my students' eyes. Because it's a say, the eyes, it's reject or project the soul. And today, this year, I learned that this is probably the most important thing, because when I ask my parents to tune the camera, I need to see not only the fingers and keyboard, I need to see their face. And I need to see their eyes, and I talk to them as well while I'm teaching. It is really important for young kids, for teenagers, because most of them, like a lot of my students, they also take lessons online. They don't see their peers, they don't see their like classmates, and different stories I can hear that I can help them. it's from that part. Like it's definitely big musical therapy here, big time. Second, it's actually for myself, it's also very helpful. I learned so much technology. I'm just from the 20 plus years, like for like a Jillian teaching experience, never used the computer as my teaching tool. And today is absolutely everything reversible. And it helped me also to go through all this hardship of to be in lockdown.
Yeah.
And not to go out and not to communicate with the people face to face, because I think musicians, we are extremely social creatures. This is at least I feel like that, and that part, it was really helpful for me to learn to connect with my fellow musicians through such a big platform of the forums and everything. Yeah. So that was my big learning community and helpful. We do help each other. We have like all these questions and answering, and I found so many new friends through just to be at home. So yeah, that was my big learning curve.
Yes. Thank you. One of the things that I really liked that you said was that, and it is different because when students come in for piano lessons, we usually say, well, you know, how are you? And then get to the piano and open your book and we sit like this. And it is interesting that we now sit like this, that we're looking into their eyes and communicating with them first from here, and then of course going to the music. But it's true, I think we look now more so into each other's faces to really say, how are you, you know, and genuinely care about that. So that is really meaningful for me as well. Thank you. Miss Sarah, can you introduce yourself, where you're from, and what has been your professional development this year?
So I'm Sarah Lingra, and I live currently on Whidbey Island, Washington, which is about an hour and a half south of the Canadian border on the West Coast. And like George, I've been teaching online lessons for at least 10 years now. And so the online experience wasn't a new one. Mm-hmm. What I did learn, though, when it's exclusively online with all of your students and they're experiencing online lessons as well, that connection is even more important, you know, having a human on the other side of the communication, because a lot of them were telling me that the teachers that they didn't care for were the ones who had them watch videos and then answer questions. So that communication bit is really important. The other thing that I was doing a little bit of it before, but because I think one of the earlier people was saying that they live in a rural Canadian community, I think this was fun, yes, where the technology, you're dealing with all of this not so great connectivity issues, mm-hmm, is and using George's programs, the Internet MIDI and the Internet MIDI and the, sorry, we're experiencing contractor issues today. So, so the creating short videos that can be used to supplement online teaching. So if you weren't able to communicate something in the lesson because it got wonky, if you create a short video, keeping it like 2 minutes or less, and then you posted it in a place where they could see it, then whatever you missed in the lesson, they could refer to later on. And so I got really good at doing those.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I think I've gone through the table around the room once. So my name is Glory St. Germain, as you probably have guessed by now. And so I'm in Winnipeg, Canada. So I'm right in central Canada, and we're known as Winterpeg for a reason, because it seems like it's always winter. But we do have a short summer that is absolutely beautiful, and that is filled with mosquitoes. So then we're Mosquito Peg. But anyway, so I guess my greatest takeaway this year was that I was, you know, going about my normal business. And then of course, I think it was March the 3rd of last year, I was teaching in my studio, and March the 4th, it became online. I saw panic in the faces of many teachers in the communities, as we all did, saying, oh my gosh, you know, I'm either going to lose my business or I have to figure something out. So my greatest learning curve was that I created the UMTC, which stands for Ultimate Music Theory Certified Teachers Elite Educator Program, in order to help teachers maintain a full teaching studio and still generate cash flow and still build their business. And it was a learning curve for me as well, because I had to be one step ahead of everyone. And I think sometimes that's what makes a great teacher is that we have to keep learning. And as long as we're one step ahead of our students, then we're doing pretty well. And just to take everything online. So I think that has been a great learning curve for me as well. And I've actually really enjoyed all the teachers that I've met throughout all the countries that have come on board with our program. So the second question that we have, and our final question for today as we go around the room, is just a short one, but it is, what is the most impactful way that we can stay current in today's teaching trends? So that is the question. Just, one or two sentences in your answer. So what is the most impactful way that you feel we can stay current in today's teaching trends? So Joanna, I'm going to start again with you.
I think we need to have a really positive growth mindset, and you need to find someone who can nurture that growth mindset. Mm-hmm. And I credit the lady sitting beside me on the screen, on my screen, Glory, for that, because without that, I've always had a pretty positive mindset, but you need to have someone who points that out to you and shows you how to grow that mindset even more. If there was one year that challenged our mindset, and maybe we could have been negative, it was last year. Yeah. And I've had the most amazing positive last year, and thank you, Glory, for helping to nurture that. And to teachers out there who might be listening, seek out that help. Yeah. Be careful. There's so many offerings out there. Find the one that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Joanne. Swan?
There we go. For me, living where I am, where my internet just got upgraded to 15 Mbps. It's amazing. It's amazing. So for me, blogs and taking online seminars, it saves me having to go to Calgary, go to Edmonton, fly down to Vancouver, that sort of thing. But it's still not good enough internet for really doing great online teaching. So I do still have students in my studio. We mask up. You can see behind me, I've got 2 pianos here. Yeah. It's still the better way where I live, but networking for me is huge, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Swan. Francis, what is the most impactful way that we can really stay current, do you think, in today's teaching trends?
I think that networking is truly key, and listening to other teachers with an open mind, things that you think you might never have done or tried. And I think networking is the way that we really need right now. And of course, because it's all virtual, we can network with anybody in the world, as is obvious by this group of people. Yeah. So I think networking is really key.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Francis. Miss Shauna.
I think probably the biggest thing is just to keep an open mind and realize that I don't know everything yet.
Yes.
Things seem to be going well, and then something happens like COVID, and you realize, boy, there's a whole lot of stuff I don't know. And just, it's been so fun to search out new ideas and ways to play games online that I can't play them in person, like with the manipulatives and stuff that I have. So being able to do it online, or just all kinds of, there's so many great ideas out there. Yeah. Just being open to try them.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to be open to trying new things. Absolutely. Thank you, Shauna. Louise, what is the most impactful way you think we can stay current in today's teaching trends? Louise, you'll need to unmute yourself, Louise.
And I even thought I should do that. I had one thought about the last question, and that is I came up with the statement, what was my enemy has become my friend. And so I just thought I'd pass that on. And what a metaphor for our lives, really. We don't know who's going to have that special thing to tell us that will change our lives completely. That's happened to me all my life. I'll say, when I had an open mind and I thought, they might be right about this. And they turn out they're very right about it. But I wasn't willing to hear before. I think the online seminars and the networking is excellent. I've done some, and I've been to some. And in California, we have a Music Teachers Association of California, which has about 5,000 members. We have a 60 branches all over we have a branch in Long Beach. Every city has a branch, and we have something called Certificate of Merit. So we are networking with the tests they take every, but that's not enough. I mean, that's not enough to nourish the teacher. So I think networking is great in the online. What people have said, I don't think I have anything else to offer. Maybe it'll trickle down and I'll get something.
Thank you. Thank you. Miss Pam, how about you? What has been your most impactful way that we can keep up with all these teaching trends?
Well, I think just staying connected, get in the groups and get involved in the conversations, take courses, attend the Global Piano Teachers Summit, gather ideas, and then just filter through those and decide what suits your personality and your teaching style. And then that way you have a customized teaching plan and way of doing things. Just keep adding to it. Don't just, I don't think it's a good thing to just teach the same way for 40 years straight. You gotta sprinkle in some new things here and there.
Yes, absolutely. Really well said, Pam, because I think we kind of get in a rut if we don't just do something outside the box that's super different. Even if it's a steep learning curve for us, it's really going to benefit us and help us grow as educators. Absolutely. Thanks, Pam. Ms. Jennifer.
So I'll probably mimic what most everybody was saying, but listen's the key word. Listen to our students, listen to our families, listen to what's going on in the music world. Listen to what's on the radio, just listen and then learn from that and learn from others and don't be afraid to try something new.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. George, as we've moved into the Global Piano Teachers Summit, we've all had a lot to learn and learn from each other. What is sort of the one thing that you think is most impactful in helping teachers?
Well, what's been impactful for me, of course, is just getting together with my colleagues, either in person or virtually. And I'll just mention one of them is a wonderful pianist in New York named Paul Sheftel. I think some of you know him. He doesn't consider himself to be a particularly technical guy, but he teaches online. And he's taught me, for example, that using video effects can be very enlivening in a lesson. So when my student does a really great job, I can just show them that I love what they're doing. And if they come up with a really odd interpretation, I could ask them, well, what kind of a planet did you learn how to play like that in? Or, your virtuosity has just really knocked me out here. And so I think we can learn an awful lot from each other. And it certainly keeps me alive when I work with my colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely. Natalia, how about you?
Well, I was thinking that ability to stay current starts with our personal well-being. This past year was a test to our strengths, and I find that it's very easy to become fatigued and become depressed. So, and there is the endless stream of information. So once you pose the question, you will get an answer. But we may become, too passionate about getting all the answers, and then we forget about ourselves. So I find that really finding that balance between how much you want to take on and capable of doing while, maintaining your energy to, be there for your students. So it starts there. It's a little bit, distant from the question you asked, but I think it starts there. So kind of controlling how much you want to learn because the information is there, right? And secondly, asking very clear questions. So once you identify the problem or you identify what you want to learn, the answer is always there. Or you can you can brainstorm it and, get the answer with your colleagues, because of course we're social creatures and we're able to, create solutions together, obviously. So as everyone stated here, staying connected, then there was wealth of information. I personally jumped online last year in March, and I was following Francis Clark School of Music, this new school of music. I believe it's near Princeton. And they were so generous with their information for the teachers, how to, equip us to get online and make that jump. And of course, Glory, you were the biggest discovery of this past year for me. And I feel so inspired and ready for a new step in my career because of what I found in you and this wonderful group of teachers. So again, there's so much waiting for us to be discovered, but we have to start with ourselves.
Absolutely.
And yes, attending the summit is the next step.
Yes, and thank you for that, Natalia, because it is so important. I think sometimes what happened when we were just all forced to start teaching online is that we did all kind of forget about ourselves. I mean, personally for me, I was just so obsessed with making sure that my students were all okay that after a while you just get so tied up in it that you go, well, wait a second, what about me? And I think now is the time to catch our breath, to say, okay, let me learn something new. Give me some space, attend the Global Piano Teachers Summit and realize that you're not alone. There's lots of people like you. And if you're feeling down or just want to just have a mind break, then take the break and just, feel inspired because there's so many beautiful, happy faces here that are here for you and your professional development. And I'm just really so blessed that all of you are sharing your wisdom. It's amazing. Paul, will you take us into this one? What is the most impactful thing?
Lori,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to leave because Gunnar just reminded me I have another meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Francis.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya. Thank you, Francis. Mr. Paul?
Well, I think being in a membership or being in some professional development groups, certain Facebook groups, there's all sorts of things that you can learn from different people. And so that's probably one of the most impactful ways I think you can stay fairly current with latest trends and ideas.
Thank you. Julie, anything you wanted to add?
Actually, I really don't have anything to add. Everybody has just said some great things. Just personal development and asking questions to our students and always finding out what they're into. I loved what Jennifer said too, Jennifer Fox. I resonate with that.
Yes. It's interesting you said that, Julie, because it is, I have a great book. It's called change your questions, change your answers. So sometimes we need to think about, and I love the book because it really makes me think about, even as I'm interviewing, when I see, it says change your questions. So how can we change our questions to maybe help our students think in different ways, right? Oh, there, Joanne just did a poster. Oh, that's the name of the book. Right. Thank you, Joanne. It's called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. It's a great book. I say that so often. Joanne actually made a poster out of it. So now that everybody's shifted, I've kind of forgotten where I am, but I think I'm at Christopher next.
When it comes to trends, I think one of the best ways to see where things are going is to see where things are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And scientists and mathematicians would call that extrapolation. So if you take a look at a line graph, right, and you see it going like this, you know that after this point, it's going to still keep going up most likely.
Yeah.
So zoom out a little bit and try to not get too caught up in the moment, but see all of the things that have happened in order to help see what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We still need to look that way, don't we? And I mean, we're in the moment, but we still need to look ahead and know that it's important for us to keep learning because no matter what, it's going to happen, right? So we may as well be along for the ride. Yin Yin, what would you like to add?
The wrong button. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sure everyone has a valuable idea. I just consistency, passion, and compassion, because we're all in this situation. So what we need to educate ourselves and also teaching our students, every lesson is the best lesson in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had to think that positive way.
Yes.
And you send that positive energy and students feel it. But my question is, since we jumped so far ahead for our technology, I mean, starting from 10 years to 1 year, right? So what we do for the next 10 years, the music still remain the same. It's the beauties there that we had to look for.
Yeah. Very well said. Thank you so much. Linda.
There we go. Yeah, this has been great just listening to everybody's answers. For me, it's a sense of play. I've always had a sense of play, and just sitting down with my grandkids, going to the latest movies, listening to what's on their playlist, just trying to stay in why do you like this song? Oh my God, look at how you're dancing to that. How can we, just trying to stay at the youngsters. They keep me current, and whatever I learn, I just try to play with it, just like a little kid, and not try to judge or anything. Just let's play.
Yeah.
So play.
Let's play. Let's have some fun. Gillian, what are your thoughts on sort of the latest trends and how we can keep up?
I think the one word, connection, and connection through networking, connection through online conferences, and memberships and things like that. And I think I'm part of a mastermind group myself, and that the guiding principles in that I think are just so fabulous. They are turn up, speak up, and lift up. So when we do these things, and when we do, if we're in a membership or go to a conference or whatever, we need to turn up and go and see these things, and of course doing the summit as well, and speak up, come to the sessions like this, and speak up with each other, and then lift others up.
Yes.
And I think there's some nice principles.
Yeah, that is so nice, Gillian. Thank you for sharing that. Those are really important things. And I think sometimes it's interesting that you said that, because sometimes we have good intentions and we might even sign up, but then we don't show up. And then sometimes we show up, but then we don't lift up. And so it's those components that we need to help each other. My greatest passion in life is helping other people. Like, that's what actually lights me up. It's not just, the music obviously is a huge part of it, but it is the joy that we can bring other people. And they always say the greatest gift is if you just give of yourself, and it will come back tenfold. And we do need to lift each other's up. And, that's why we're all here, to help each other, but to help all those that are watching us. And it really is a blessing. Absolutely. Because people have moved now, I'm not quite sure where I am. I think I'm at Marina.
Yes. So my probably most impactful way to use technology to the benefits of the music teaching. And for example, today is one of my favorite composers, Sergei Rachmaninoff's birthday. And one of my students, musically technically advanced, pure product of American computer generation Y, I think, or X, I forgot already what's the name of this generation. He's 15 years old. So he loved the piece that I offered for him, Elegy, but he learns all the technical skills, how to play it fast and everything. But this is not about the music, right? It's not, you're just not pressing the button and it's everything goes wrong. You have to bring the soul, Russian soul. So how do you do that? So with that technology, so with a click of the button, I brought the great landscape painters to show how the Russia, beauty of the Russia, of the fields and the forests and everything. Then we watched together with a group of the students amazing movie White Lilacs. It's a favorite Rachmaninoff's flower that he actually carried with him through all America, and he even planted in California. I don't know if this tree survived or not, bush. So point is, technology can actually open and click the imagination of the student, and he connected through all this technological stuff that we shared the screen and we talked about it. And he started to play and understand the music much better, and basically he enriched himself. So I helped him to be a more interesting person. It's not about how fast or slow you play or mistakes or dynamics. It's about how to express yourself. Yeah. That one, I think this is my biggest impact. It's much easier way to bring to the music all the technological stuff that I did it different way. So it helped me a lot. And I think it just really helped to my students big time.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Joanne might have to help me out here. Am I at
Sarah, Michelle, and Gareth?
Michelle, please. Yes, Michelle, Sarah, and Sir Gareth. Okay, I'll go with Michelle first.
Okay. Teaching trend, I would say our world is so full of information. We can get the information in, but we have to pick that one thing and implement it. If we never implement it, it doesn't do anything for us. It doesn't do anything for our students. It's just information.
Yep.
And so find the thing that gives you the passion and the positiveness that's been mentioned before, and then connect that with your students. And then just listen to them. They know what they like. Get them to tell you what they like and why. Because my theory is if I can get that little hiney on the bench, practice what they want, then they will practice what I need them to play. So it's getting your butt on the bench. That's my need to do. And so if that is through them, I want to play, I have one student, I want to play anything from the musical Hamilton. Okay, you get on the bench to play Hamilton, and then we'll work on scales. You know, that kind of, attitude of let them drive the train and then you tell them where to go.
Yeah, that's really good. Thanks, Michelle. Miss Sarah?
Yes. So in terms of the things that I think are going to continue to be impactful are the things that you learn from your students. So I have kids who are in their 20s and I have adult students. And so it's interesting to ask them what's going on, not just musically, but what technology are they using? How are their classes going at university? What are the things that their teachers are doing? Because I feel like often we're in these piano teacher, music teacher bubbles, and we're not sharing enough of the teaching aspect from other teacher bubbles who've already done something similar that we could do and kind of steal. Is that steal like an artist or, borrow this work or whatever? Because there are a lot of really smart people in a lot of different industries who are doing a lot of really cool things with online education that I think we could steal from a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. And finally, Mr. Sir Gareth, please, is going to take us on home.
Great, love it. Thank you for that deference. It's amazing. Yeah, for me, I mean, kind of keeping current has perhaps been more about in recent years. I've taught more and more students from more and more parts of the world. So this theme of the global village, and how does that impact on keeping me current? Well, students who introduced me to new music, the whole theme of world music kind of opening up in the teaching practice that I happen to be in is a fascinating thing. And of course, one meets the different cultural approaches as well. And the notion of learning how we could cross-fertilize that a little bit more would be wonderful globally. And I'm finding that a very exciting thing to engage with. So in some parts of the world, there's a strong emphasis on discipline. You will practice for hours every day, you will do it this way, and there's a kind of tried and tested method of working. In other parts of the world, it's very much down to what does the student want to do? How do they have fun? And that's great. It's all terrific. The thing is, how do you fuse all that so that you take the best from each culture and maybe try to inject some kind of balance around the world, just in your own teaching practice. So cultural issues, world issues in the broadest possible way. And for me as well, because a lot of people I'm teaching don't have English as a first language, it then becomes much more important how you feed back and how you teach. And I suppose one thing that I'm grappling with more and more as well is the whole notion of we're working in a subjective world of music making. How can we give teaching feedback that is objective in a subjective world so that it's most helpful? they're my current challenges of how to keep up with current trends on a kind of global scale.
But you, Sir Gareth, you have learned how to take your iPhone from this one to this one. Remember, I taught you that last week.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Is it in the wrong place? Oh dear. Never mind.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And my greatest takeaway is that we have to keep learning, of course. Make sure that you register for the Global Piano Teacher Summit. You can get your VIP pass today and unlock all 16 sessions. Amazing. We have 55 expert piano teachers from around the world that are sharing their expertise. And I know you're going to have some amazing takeaways, and make sure that you implement these, because that's the key. Is we can learn things, but just like your students, they need to implement the lessons that they learn. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the summit. And we love your feedback. Make sure you go into the Magic of Music Facebook group and share what was your greatest takeaway from each one of the sessions. There's 16 of them, so make sure you get your VIP pass, and I will see you on the inside. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.